This coming week is the 19th anniversary of St. Raphael's Cathedral in downtown Madison burning down by an arsonist, as we know now. I wonder, and this is where I want to start, is asking you, why did it take so long now to name St. Bernard's and get St. Bernard's renovated as the new cathedral?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Kyle. 19 years is a long time for a Catholic diocese not to have a cathedral. It's the mothership, the mother church of the diocese, the home for all the Catholics in our 11 county local church. I would say several reasons. One, I think Bishop Morlino, my predecessor, realized there were some other pressing needs regarding the life of Catholics here in the city and in the diocese. And one was certainly college-aged youth. So, as you probably know, St. Paul's Parish, which is the UW-Madison Catholic Campus Ministry, did a huge project to build a whole new center. And that's been a remarkable gift for us. So many young people, both Catholic and non-Catholic, and even people that professed atheism, have found a home at St. Paul's and indeed have found God there. So I think primacy on really helping our young people remain rooted in the faith or come to know the Lord in the faith was a priority for Bishop Morlino and for our people. Secondly, another major project was the raising of about $35 million for the endowment fund to perpetually finance the cost of educating young men to become priests. So those two priorities are that we need good, holy young priests to keep serving the church, and we need young people to be engaged in the mission of the church. We're seen as probably higher priorities and more needful at the time. And I would say those were right decisions. When we launched both our Go Make Disciples initiative, which is evangelization, how do we proclaim the gospel of the Lord to our contemporary culture, which often is quite skeptical of faith, and then coupling that with our Into the Deep strategic plan, which is restructuring our parishes and our institutions to better serve that mission. I just realized this is an opportune moment to really resolve the cathedral question. So I think for 19 years we haven't had a cathedral, but no one really wanted that to be an indefinite solution, which was really
Yourself
a
included.
non-solution.
Yeah, and it's part of the reason I understand that St. Bernard's has been chosen was part of the Into the Deep strategic plan to try to be more resourceful as a diocese.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So one option would have been to build a brand new cathedral from scratch downtown on our property there. If we were going to build a cathedral the way a cathedral should be, that probably would have been upwards of $90 to $100 million. So part of our Into the Deep initiative is really looking at our current property, our current resources, and asking how can we be more strategic in utilizing them for mission. So if that's our message and that's our pathway, it just made sense to take one of our current existent churches and kind of elevate it, repurpose it, rather than spending a whole lot more money to build a brand new cathedral from the basement up.
I believe Bishop Morlino at the time said in 2005 that there was a great appreciation for St. Raphael's being in downtown Madison, and he said, there was a quote somewhere, he said, in all the deliberations,
I will not lose sight of that.
I wonder, has there been that appreciation lost in any of the way that we've gone forward now with naming St. Bernard's?
Yeah, I would say we're always intent on remaining a presence in the city. So we have St. Patrick's Church, which is just a few blocks from the Capitol, and I certainly want to be more engaged in the public square regarding how we serve the needs of the poor, how are we present to legislators, that the church has a lot to say and a lot to contribute about the moral issues and the cultural issues that face us. So regardless of where the cathedral is, the church herself is not going anywhere. Our mission will always be within the human city and with the human family.
Can you tell me how momentous was it to be naming now at this point a new cathedral?
In the Catholic world, that's a big deal because almost every diocese clearly would have a cathedral, some for hundreds of years. Think of St. Patrick's in New York City, or even Holy Cross in Chicago. So for a diocese to be creating a new cathedral is really once in probably 5, 6 generations. So this is a hugely significant step for us. And so we want to build a cathedral that's really going to last for the ages and be of an elevated architecture and beauty, but also functionality for what all that a cathedral needs to be.
Yeah, tell me more about that. In your press conference in January, you said St. Bernard's really is fitting of the cathedral title because of its architectural style, its connectedness with the community. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so if you look at, think of Notre Dame in Paris or some of the Gothic cathedrals in Europe. So you think of a soaring architecture, you think of these beautiful stained glass windows, you think of this physical construct that really raises the human heart and spirit to the transcendence and mystery of God. So imagine being a medieval peasant and going to Mass at Notre Dame, and you must have felt like you had stepped into heaven. So for us as Catholics, the celebration of Mass is our participation already in heaven. So theologically, we would say that Mass, we're sharing in that life of the Lord already in the great mystery of eternity. So you want a cathedral that's going to match that. And of all of the churches in the city, I would say St. Bernard's has the architecture, has the beauty, has the windows that really match that provenance of a cathedral.
And part of the building, it's right in the heart of a neighborhood as opposed to a downtown site, which is more surrounded with commercial buildings, offices. So it really is at the heart of more of a community, from my perspective at least.
Well, that's a very good point, Kyle, because many cathedrals really have no residential neighborhood around them, so they almost become a destination parish. So everybody that goes there for church, say, is going to be driving in from someplace else. St. Bernard's is a neighborhood church. It will be a parish within our diocese and function like any other parish in many ways, although, of course, it has its own unique status as a cathedral.
Sure, and that site offers some other things as a larger parking space than would be at a proposed new St. Raphael's site, right?
Yeah, that's right. Because I know in some of the original discussions, there was a thought of having underground parking downtown, and just you think of the expense, the complexity of that. So here we have greater access for parking. The cathedral will also be host to artistic and cultural events, lectures, music concerts, that sort of thing. And that it really speaks to the function of a cathedral within not only the Catholic community, but I'd say the community at large. That, again, it's the church saying that she has something profound to contribute to the human spirit and to the common good and to the human community.
All right, next thing I want to move to is talking about what's happening now at St. Bernard's, the renovations happening there. When we were there in January, it was completely gutted. You don't see churches like that too often.
Yeah, it's pretty unusual. Everything was taken out. Now even the floor has been taken out. So they're putting in the framework to pour the new floor. So I think within a couple of weeks, there'll be something like 36 cement trucks, loads of cement coming in to pour the floor. That'll take a few weeks to harden and solidify. So right now it's some of just the basic structure of the church that's being reconfigured, and then we'll certainly go into the more decorative in terms of the plaster, the furniture, the paintings, the statues, the pews. So there's a whole timeline worked out. The way it looks now is we'd be looking at sometime in the autumn of 2025, for completion of the cathedral and its dedication.
Sure, and part of that process is going to be continuing to speak with, I assume, parish members as well, and telling them what the process is, keeping them in the loop and everything.
Yes, there's communication to people throughout the diocese regarding the process and the progress. So the parishioners at St. Bernard's are currently worshiping in the gym.
Yeah, they're in the gym right now.
Yes, they've set up the gym. It looks pretty good as a church for considering that
It's
it's
working.
a gym. Yeah, I had Christmas Mass there, actually, Christmas Eve, and it was very good. So, yeah, there's certainly probably more intensive communication to them, but then also to the whole diocese, because the cathedral is really the church for all of
Yeah,
us.
and I guess what's that like for them? Because in Madison, we haven't had a new cathedral since the 1950s. To have this process where what's going to happen with them with scheduling times, how is that going to look for them?
Yeah, I think they'll find probably greater vitality, greater life, greater support, because there'll be all sorts of folks and activities coming in from the outside. So there'll still be parish events such as Mass and confessions and Bible study and adult formation, but then there'll be this whole nother level of activity there that's really much wider in terms of diocesan events. So I think the parishioners there are very enthused about it and excited that their church was chosen and considered worthy to become the cathedral for the whole diocese.
Moving forward in the next couple months and years, what should we be expecting from the renovation process? When is it going to be completed? How much is this going to be costing?
Yeah, so again, it should be completed in probably the fall of 2025 if all things go well. Cost is going to be about $15 million, which again is a fraction of the cost of building a new cathedral, and we've purposely tried to keep the costs down. And
I believe the St. Bernard's Parish, they're contributing a wealthy amount to that.
they contribute significantly as well. So we're not taking any diocesan funds or just skimming the money off the top of parishes to pay for this. It's all going to be garnered through private individuals who are passionate about the project, and we're working on developing those relationships and those gifts. So that's kind of the process, and I think we'll certainly invite the broader community to come for the celebration.
And it goes
of
back
this
to that
day.
point about the resourcefulness of Into the Deep, right?
Yeah, that's right. Just trying to utilize our resources well, really for the mission of the church. And I think this is a church that will stand for the ages. So it's a wise investment of our resources now, but it's certainly a prudent step forward, looking at all of our property and saying, how does this serve the mission of the 21st century?
I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kyle.